So here we're going to introduce the quick shifter from DynoJet to this bike, and essentially we're going to replace this shift rod with this shift rod and the sensor attached to it. But as you can already see, there's a slight problem as already. These are supposed to be sized correctly when they come in the mail, supposedly, for this bike. And I think that's how I understand it. I even talked to the support department over at DynoJet, and that's what the guy said, that I shouldn't have to cut this, but it's pretty obvious that I will have to cut it because, you know, this is going to go to about there. You can already see the back of this is going to stick out like an inch. So I'm going to have to cut it about almost an inch on each side, I think. So, but I'm not going to do that just yet, because what I am planning to do is I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to put it up next to this, and I'm going to cut the entirety of this thing exactly the same size as the rod that I have now. That way I can be sure that it's the right size. And I've already kind of taken a picture of the angle this is making. It's supposed to make it like a 90-degree angle ideally, but stock from Kawasaki, it makes a less than 90-degree angle, so I would say that's more like 80 degrees or so, maybe even more acute than that. This angle from, you know, this angle right here. DynoJet suggests that that should be 90 degrees, but I'm gonna kind of match what Kawasaki has done here because I don't want to mess with it. So yeah, then the sensor is gonna go right there, and it looks like there's plenty of clearance right around here for that to fit in. Hopefully we don't get to a point where this device, the sensor, is hitting the frame right there. That would be pretty bad. I suppose you could also put it in backwards. I don't know if it really cares. In fact, that may be the preferred way. Although, again, this is going to go right there. I don't think it's going to interfere at all with the frame. So I'm going to try it forwards like that first. But first things first, I got to cut this sucker to match the size of what I have now. So I'm going to take this out, I'm going to cut it, I'm going to put it back in, and then I'll restart the video. Alright, so as you can see, this is the type, what was it? Right here. Type B as in Bravo rod that I got from DynoJet. The rod itself is smaller than the rod that came on the bike, but the rod, in addition to the push sensor device, is going to be quite a bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure these together, take the difference, and then divide by 2 and cut from each side so that I kind of have plenty of room on each side. That's my plan. We'll see how well that works out. Okay, so the stock rod is 5 11/16, which is 91/16, and the DynoJet one with the sensor is 7 2/16, which is 114/16. So 114 minus 91 is 23. And I'm going to say 22, which is, I would have normally cut 23, but I'm only going to cut 22. And that's 11/16 on each side of the rod. I'm going to measure again and calculate again just to be sure, but I'm going to cut off 11/16 from the left and 11/16 from the right, and that should leave me at exactly the same length as the original. Well, 1/16 more total, and that'll be enough for me to kind of like sand it down a little bit and grind it down to kind of. But I'd rather have a little too much than a little too little, because if I cut a little too much, then I can't add material. But I should be able to experiment with that pretty well. So yeah, that's the calculation. Hopefully it's right. Okay, so I went and marked. I put a piece of masking tape around each side. I marked exactly 11/16 of an inch on either side. I'm going to cut it on both sides that much, and that should shorten the rod quite a bit, and enough for me to make the entire length of it exactly identical to the length of the original shift rod. Nice thing is if I screw up, I've only screwed up this $15 shift rod, so I can always order another one, so not a big deal. So yeah, looks like I cut it exactly 11/16 of an inch on either side, sanded a little bit, and kind of filed it down, and used like a nice metal brush, like where is my brush? Like these guys right here, to kind of make sure that the threads were kind of burr free. And yeah, the lengths look pretty dead on identical. Mine's just a hair bigger, which is what I was aiming for. I mean, this one's a hair bigger because I haven't really tightened this down yet either. So once I tighten that down, I think we're going to see that it's identical size. So then it's going to go back on the bike. Unfortunately, I don't really have a photo of whether, it doesn't even say whether or not it's supposed to go this way or the other way. I don't think it matters because either way you're pushing, right? So this goes here, and when the lever comes up, you're pushing in. So it's a push type versus a pull type, meaning if your upward moving action was resulting in a pull, then you would have the pull type. I believe that's how it goes. Yeah, so this is the push type. So I'm going to install it with the sensor facing forward. Maybe I'll look up a little bit better, but I believe that's the correct way to go. So, yep. So I guess I was wrong. I might still be wrong, but I think I was wrong the first time. I don't think this can actually go in the front. The thread on the tread in the front and the back are actually two different kinds. They don't just go different directions, but I believe they're just slightly different also. So you can't actually tread that side to this end or that side to that end. It's kind of foolproof to some extent, unless I've somehow screwed that up. But I believe this is the correct way to do this now. That goes in the back, that goes in the front. I've kind of matched the angle to exactly what it was at before. I actually ended up having zero room for error here. Which not exactly what I wanted. So it turns out these kind of like when you spin this guy around, it like if you spin it in, I believe, this direction, it unscrews from here and here at the same time, and then if you spin in the other direction, it screws in from both sides at the same time. So really, if you want one side to go in a little further than the other, you're gonna have to start that side first before you even get the side started. It kind of makes sense once you're doing it yourself. I'm not gonna explain it too much. So I basically got a little play here, which is what I had before, and I think I want to leave that play in there. And then I'm gonna route this. I'm gonna route this up to about in there, and probably zip tie it somewhere in here. And then it comes with this guy. All in all, this has so far been kind of an easy install. I don't know what I have to do on the software end just yet, but I'm gonna tidy this up. I'm gonna get it installed, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So it's interesting, the holes on the outside, the extension kind of accessory holes for the power commander. It says plug into any color at any time, and it should just work. Pretty amazing that it knows how to do this. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let's see. Not really sure if I'm pointing the camera the right way, but anyway, so I just put it into the first two just so it would be closer to this main one, so I could zip tie them together and clean this up a little bit. It's pretty nice and clean underneath here. I'm pretty happy with the outcome. I should have probably put some Loctite on some of these joints here, because I'm sure they're gonna come loose, but I'm not too worried about it, because I'm gonna keep a close eye on it over the next couple of weeks, where I got a couple other things to do to the bike, but I'm nearly done. I'm gonna take it to the DynoJet, get it tuned, but I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I've got actually a little bit more of a 90-degree angle now than I did before I started. So and this end there's no angle. Obviously, kind of going right in to the shifter here, and my shift rod here was like an 80-degree angle before, and it's probably like more like an 85 now. And I'm just kind of guessing at those numbers. I'm just letting you know that it's less acute than it was before. And so I routed it through here. I was gonna zip tie it here too, but I actually really like the fact that there's some free play there, because as you know, the shift rod kind of swivels to the left and right here. There's gotta be a little bit of free play for it to kind of move back and forth. So I'm gonna leave that there, and I'm gonna put this sucker on top. All the wires get pretty nicely covered up. And there's still that nice play in here, which is what I was looking for. I wanna make sure this doesn't get pinched when I tighten it, and I don't think it will, because the screws go here and here. So yeah, that's about it. Quick shifter has been installed. Okay, so it turns out I was wrong. It does matter which holes you put it in. I guess it doesn't matter which color goes into which hole, but it has to be the third and the fourth one, depending on which side you're coming from. But if you count from the main wire, it's the third and the fourth hole that it has to go in. And actually, now that I look back at the instructions, it didn't explicitly say it, but in the picture it pointed at the arrows. And that's not even enough. So once you do that, you got to hook up your power commander. Most of you probably know this. You got to hook it up to your computer, and you got to load the software, and you got to go under configure options, and you actually have to turn on the quick shifter. And it actually has quite a few settings in there. Let's see here. So if you go here, all right. So if you go under configure, well, it's not connected right now. It's under the configure menu, and it allows you to turn it on. And there it will tell you that it will be the second switch, which is, so that would be the first set, and that's the second set, okay? So that's where we'd go. I haven't actually hooked up any of these other guys, and I intend to eventually, I think. I just couldn't find them on the bike, so that's something I have to research and find out. One was like the temperature sensor, the other one's like the shift sensor, like, you know, letting it know which gear it's in. I guess the gear position sensor. Anyway, I was wrong about that. So you do have to hook it up to the third and fourth little hole here, and then you do have to turn it on in the software. And there's some options in there, like the options are, you know, how many RPM to begin kind of enabling it. So mine's set to 3,000 RPM, meaning if the RPMs are below 3,000, the quick shifter doesn't shift. But I will say this, it shifts flawlessly. It is just like a joy to ride right now. It's like you don't even notice the time between you pushing up and it shifting. It's such a beautiful thing. So I'm so happy I installed it. Hopefully that'll be my impression of it when I go on a real ride. This was just a really quick ride around the block and back. I did jump on the freeway just to kind of open it up and make sure it performs at all speeds. I did have like one slight misshift between second and third, but it was like really low RPM, and I was like shifting just for the sake of shifting. It's something I would never really do in real life. So anyway, I kind of feel like that's what it was. Anyway, it's doing a beautiful job as it is. I don't have the custom tune yet. I'm using the Akrapovic, whatever you call it, full header tune right now. This is not the Akrapovic, as you can see. It's the CS Escapamento from Brazil. And it's a very tidy, minimalist setup. Sounds amazing. I'll do some videos of that so you can hear it and kind of see it in action. But the Akrapovic tune does seem to work with this quite well already. I don't think I'm going to gain a lot from doing a custom tune, but I'm going to do it anyway, just so I can make sure I'm not leaving anything on the table and whatnot. I do still get a couple of pops here and there, even though I've blocked off the AIS. Not really sure if that's normal or not, doesn't really matter. I don't mind it. But with the custom tune, I imagine that'll probably go away as well. Again, super happy with the Power Commander 5 so far, and the quick shift setup, flawless. Just a pleasure to ride right now. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like the video and subscribe. I'll have quite a few more. In fact, I've already done quite a few more videos on the Z900, and I intend to do quite a few more. So as I post them, which may take me some time, but as I post them, you'll get notified if you're subscribed. Thanks again for watching and subscribing to the channel. Bye.